Last year, Frostbite Fishing, which is primarily an ice fishing rod, lure, and bait company, dropped this little reel right here, the Frostbite Diesel 1000. It's coming in at $40 and has a whole bunch of different features on it, and I figured we should talk about this little reel in today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy. Now, before we cover anything else on this reel, let's go over some specs real quick. So this is the Diesel 1000. The gear ratio is coming in at 5.2 to 1. It has 3+1 bearings. The drag is coming in at around 10 pounds. It's coming in at a weight of 6.4 ounces. The line capacity is 135 yards of 8-pound test, and the MSRP is around $40. So as for versatility goes, Frostbite sent me this reel in October, and immediately I got onto the river with it. Now, it's technically marketed as an ice fishing reel. However, you can obviously use it for other things too, and I really wanted to test out that drag. So I went to a local river that I've been catching a lot of really nice fish out of and fished like 2 or 3 trips straight just with this reel. I wanted to test it out. I wanted to see everything about it, and right away I was extremely impressed. So I think my first trip, I took this out. I caught a couple fish around 18, 19 inch, and then the second trip, I stuck a 21 inch rainbow on this, and this is a big river fish. This is not like a little stalker, so this thing ripped drag. It was in a big, deep hole. These are some of the hardest fighting rainbows I have ever hooked in my life, and this reel held up phenomenal. It has a really loud drag, which you guys will hear here, which I'm assuming they put on this reel because it is used for ice fishing, and if you have other rods outside of the shack and, you know, they go off, right, a fish hits it, you want to hear that loud drag, you know, because you're in the shack. You want to bust out there and go get it. So the drag, I'm usually a fan of a little quieter drag, but I understand why they put that on this reel. It has more of a purpose in this case. This reel's drag handled phenomenally on those fish. Now, at the time of making this video, they only have a 1000 size reel, so for those of you that are wanting to target larger fish, this probably isn't going to be the reel for that. But for anything trout, crappie, panfish, any type, almost any type of ice fishing scenario, small bass, this is gonna work perfect for that. As for looks here, you guys know how much I like an all black or like an all silver reel. You guys know I'm a big Shimano fan, and so of course I love that look. Frostbite, this reel is pretty much nothing but black. There's a little bit of gold on the inside of the reel, which you probably won't ever see, and then there's a little bit of silver on the top. Other than that, it's a completely all black reel, and I love it. It pairs up so well with any other rod, which is awesome, especially if it's like an all black ice fishing rod. It looks really, really cool on it. As for feel, that's another huge pro with this reel. This reel has something that you guys know that I love, and I have talked about it in so many other videos. I love the thin handle. For an example of what I mean here, I have 2 Shimano reels to show you. If you notice the Shimano Nasky, this is the old Nasky, it has a little bit more of that kind of bulky handle, right? It's a little bit thicker. However, the Shimano Stratic, if you can just tell, it has that thin, rounded handle going up to the reel, and I just love the feel of any reel that has that feature. And the Frostbite, as you guys can see, has that feature. It has that thin, rounded handle going up, and I love that. On Frostbite's website as well, they state that this reel comes with a low temperature lubrication inside to help with those colder temperatures, and I'm assuming that's probably what helps you when you're ice fishing, right? If things are freezing up out there, to try to just help keep it moving, which I think is also a big attention to detail piece on here as well. Especially for $35, to me that's pretty crazy. You know, some of these little features they packed in this reel for that price point. That's pretty wild. As for casting here, most people are going to be using this as an ice fishing reel, so I don't know if casting makes a big difference. However, for me, I'm going to be using this for kind of a little bit of everything, so I am going to be using this for a lot of open water stuff. One thing I noticed right off the bat about this reel is that it holds a lot of line for a 1000 size reel. I mean, I went to go spool like 150 yards on this thing of some thin braid, and it took the whole entire spool and then still needed more line on top. And one thing I noticed is if that line is not filled to the top on this reel, sometimes casting it can kind of, it doesn't catch on the reel, but it just doesn't cast as far. So that is one thing about this reel is you're gonna want to have this thing fully spooled to the very tippity top to get the best casting out of this reel. Now, like I said, if you're ice fishing, this doesn't matter as much, but if you are using this for open water, just make sure that maybe if you've only got 100 yards of braid, maybe put, 20, 30 yards of some type of mono backing on the, on the inside of the spool, and then tie your braid on over the top so it comes up to the very tip of the spool, then you're fine to cast. Now, I actually have a couple of these, so this one is an ice fishing only reel because of that spool, but the other one I have spooled all the way up to the end, and that was the one I was using for open water, and I had no problem with it. So just something to think about. Make sure that reel is spooled up to the top and you'll be fine. As for the durability here, I have had it since October, so, it's been about 3-4 months since, since I've got the reel. Now, I have fished it pretty hard in that time. I've already been out, I think, 3 or 4 days on the ice with this thing, as well as 3 or 4 days on the river. So it's already had, almost double-digit number of trips on it. And these reels have been lasting great so far. It's definitely not made with a lot of, super cheap plastic. I can definitely feel a little bit of plastic on certain parts of the reel, but I feel like the spool feels metal, and there's a lot of other parts in this reel that do feel like a nice metal construction, and it feels really durable in your hand, which is really nice. Another thing that Frostbite advertises on their website with this reel is their drag comes with carbon washers instead of the regular felt ones. That way it lasts a little bit longer and it does better in the ice. And in my opinion, I think those carbon washers are a huge help. I actually had one of my reels, the Shimano Nasky. I had a salmon in Washington that ran so hard on the drag, he actually burned up the felt inside the reel, and I had to go online and had to replace it with carbon washers, and since then the reel has worked fantastic, and I think even better. So the fact that they packed that into this reel for $40 is insane. Those are just little details that only fishermen who are on the water would know to do. That is incredible. I have never ever fished a reel for $40 as good as this one. This is hands down for reels under $50. This takes the cake by far. Not only can this be really good for, for instance, in Idaho, we have a 5-rod permit when you're ice fishing, so you can be jigging with one and you can have 4 other rods out next to you. This is an amazing reel because it is so cheap to just buy a bunch of, load up on a ton of other ice rods, and then put them out around you. But it's also just a good enough reel to go out fishing with and using it in your hand all day. So for $40, that is just insane. All the little features and things that they put in this reel, I don't understand how they're turning profit with this reel. But I really hope this kind of wakes up some of those other companies and forces them to also make really great sub $100, spinning reels, kind of like Shimano and Daiwa have been doing for a while now. This reel could easily be marketed for $80, $90, and probably I would still have the same review about it. I would still be saying yeah, this is a great reel for the price. It's an awesome buy. Totally recommend it. But the fact that it's half that amount is just wild. Just wild. Those of you that have watched the channel for a long time or just know me personally know that I really don't skimp out on fishing gear. It's kind of the one thing in my life that I am not a cheapskate on, is I will buy the best fishing gear and I will abuse the crap out of it and catch as many fish as I can on that gear. And this is a reel that will actually be in my arsenal, my starting lineup of reels, and it's $40. The other reels in my lineup are Shimano Stratics, Shimano Vanfords, Shimano Naskys, Daiwa, nice, expensive gear, and then this thing. It's crazy the fact that this thing is competing and is going to be in my fishing arsenal on a lot of my trips. And you guys are going to see this reel probably a lot more in some of my upcoming videos as well. The proof is kind of in the pudding with this reel here. If you guys watch the Frostbite YouTube channel, you guys watch Clayton Schick, Jay Siemens, Alex Perrick, a lot of those guys that are up north catching big fish through the ice. In almost all of their videos now, these are the main reels that they're using. So the fact that, they are as high level fishermen as they are, and they are all using these reels in all of their videos, that says something about the reel, right? And they're all catching nice fish on them too. So yeah, these reels, wow. I'm very, very impressed with this for $40. All right, let's go over the pros and cons real quick of this reel. As for pros here, first of all, price, $40, can't beat it. Looks, I love the all black style on this. It's gonna match up really well with any rod in your arsenal. The handle, I love the thin style handle on these reels. I think it adds a lot for the comfort and use of this reel. And I love those carbon drag washers in there. That's such a nice little touch that they added into this reel. As for cons, the only thing I would say is obviously that spool. You've got to have that line filled up all the way, or you definitely will see a little bit of a difference in your casting. As for Humbug rating here, I'm giving this reel a 9.5 out of 10, which is definitely one of my highest ratings I've ever given a product. I'm gonna be honest with you, when Frostbite sent me this reel, I was not expecting a lot out of this. I was kind of expecting maybe kind of a cheaper reel that I can use as a second setup or to give to a buddy, but wow, were my expectations of this reel blown away quick. Phenomenal reel. You guys know that I only use incredible products, and that is why a lot of my gear is Frostbite stuff. I absolutely love their products. Incredible deal. 100% recommend this reel. If you guys want to see a rod that would pair up really well with this reel, I will put that right here. If you guys want to see another reel review kind of like this one, I will put that up here. Hopefully you guys got a kick out of today's episode. If you guys want to see a certain product, let me know down in the comments below, and we will see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.